Hello viewers, today we have very eminent personality with us, Mr. Swarn Lamba, author of the book Let's Play. Hello ma'am, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Ma'am, you have very long association and passion with teaching. Teaching around the world and finally in Australia. So you have had 40 years of experience with various teaching methods. And you know better what works for the children. So how are you using this immense experience for the benefit of the children?
So, what I've done is when I wrote this book, I kind of aimed it for 7 to 11-year-olds. And the things that I put in the book, I tried to bring a lot of diversity within India. So, there is that unity within diversity. This story was based in different parts of India. It had a little bit about the culture of the state. It had something about students and that children playing games, developing certain skills. And this is a book that can be very easily adapted into schools. We can talk about comprehension, which is direct comprehension from chapters in this book. And I don't know if I've said, but there are 8 stories, all based in 8 different states. So that also lends itself to a little more inquiry approach of studying. So they can find out a little more about the state. So this kind of gives them a teaser, and then they can explore further.
That what actually led you to write this book?
So I had just moved to Australia about 6 or 7 years ago, and soon after that, of course, we've had the lockdown and things like that. And as I would walk down the streets, I would notice that none of the children play outside.
My God.
So they're all confined to playing in the parks that are meant for them, or a lot of children have things like a trampoline at the back. So basically they are playing, they are physically active, but what makes up a game or what makes up play is missing. There is no team games there. There is no social skills going on, no communication going on, no collaboration, no negotiation, no strategic planning. So they're all there, and even when they are in the big parks and they're playing games, if there is another child in front, they politely wait for that child to finish before they play. So a very different thing, and that led me to think about my own childhood and how it was so different to my granddaughters who were now being brought up in Australia. So I thought maybe somewhere along the line I need to tell them and other children of their age the kind of games that we played traditionally in India. Yeah.
You thought of writing this book. So how do you think this book especially will benefit to the Indian children?
See, it has a lot of benefit for Indian children, and not only Indian children, I guess children all over the world. It's a pretty universal theme, but particularly in India, I keep coming back here after every few years. I see less space for children to play, more high-rise buildings. Children who are more addicted to screens rather than actually playing with other kids.
Yes.
So their only playtime is really in schools.
This view from you. So what we usually see that the book that benefit is quite a boring kind of thing. So how your book is different in that aspect?
My book is different in the sense that I have noticed, I have been doing presentations to schools in Bombay and Delhi. There was a time when we were growing up, if I went to school in UP, probably 90% of the kids were from UP and very few from other states of India.
Okay.
Whereas what I'm seeing now is there are kids from almost every state. Parents are moving around a little more. They're not actually bound by the boundaries of their states.
That's
so when I've written these 8 stories, there is some kid who will relate to it.
okay.
And I will give you an incident. I was presenting to Avalon Heights in Bombay, to one of the schools, and then I read to them a story on kite flying. And so one boy raised his hand and he says, Mrs. Lamba, we have kite flying in Gujarat. I said, yes, that's exactly where the story is based. So when I read about the dress and the ondio they were eating and the, Shri Krishna greetings that they were giving, so the boy looked at me pretty surprised. He says, have you been to Gujarat? And I said, no, I haven't. I've never been to Gujarat. So you see, this gives you a taste of what the other states are like.
Right.
And again, like I said, it also gives you the opportunity to explore a little more. And when you come from IB schools, inquiry is a very important part. So you have a little something given to you, you inquire further, or you inquire in the direction you want to go. The other interesting thing was that there are kids in the stories that all the kids can relate to, their age group. And the names are taken from those states. And also what I try to make in this book is that it's a story. It's a story with the rules of the games, they are in the story. So you can actually pull out the rules of the games from the story as you read along. If I had to write a procedural book and write down, okay, Gulli Danda, step 1, step 2, nobody would read it. Nobody would read it. But this they would. I've even had a school in Australia play Pittu after reading the story. And mainly Australian kids. So instead of stones, of course, we took wooden blocks and they went out into the ground and they played Pittu. Yeah.
So there are so many interesting incidents. There must be so many interesting incidents.
Oh, absolutely.
Related to this book. So me and my viewers would like to know some of the interesting facts related to this book.
Like marbles, I was only fascinated by the colors of the marbles.
Okay.
I didn't play it very well. So I had to consult my husband and my brothers for the game of marbles because I didn't really know the rules very well. I couldn't remember them at all. And so it was very interesting because both of them gave me a set of rules and they were not really exactly the same. And so there was an, kind of a debate, an argument, a quarrel. No, this is not the way it is played. This is the way it is played. So which actually made me smile because both of them are 60 plus, but they were arguing like they were, again, little children. So it really brought back their childhood for them. And that's exactly what I'm trying to say in these traditional games, that we don't have a set of written rules. And these traditional games can vary from state to state, from locality to locality. So if you modify the rules here and there a little bit, doesn't make a big difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the thing is that game should be interesting.
Yes, and should be enjoyed, and kids should have fun. And if they have a scraped knee or they fall and there's a little cut, that's fine. That's part of the game. Yeah.
We'd like to know, since this is very interesting subject, and we'd like to know that how a school can use this for their advantage, for the betterment of the children.
Okay. The schools can actually have a read of the book. Before reading the book, what I have done is I have put some questions or responses at the back of the book. Okay. Because being a teacher, I knew exactly what other teachers would want.
Right.
So there is some before reading. Before reading, what kind of questions can you ask the kids? Things like, what games do you play? What games have you played? Is one game better than the other? Or is one type of game better than the other? Like maybe playing a video game or a board game or an outdoor game. How are they different? So you can have all this, which is like a preamble before you actually start reading the book. Once you've read the book, then of course you have the comprehension. And being a teacher, I have tried to use variety of words. So word choice in writing is quite important. Sentence structure is quite important, the type of sentences that you use. Descriptive passages are there. So there is a lot that you can actually do in terms of a school. So when I've looked at, say, Gulli Danda with Preeto, and that is based in Punjab. So kids can actually, branch off from there and say, locate Punjab on a map. What is it famous for? Or what crop does it grow? Which industry flourishes there? What kind of language do they speak? What kind of clothes do they wear? What kind of foods do they eat? So basically, then they can even compare two different states. And like we have in maths, which can be used in anything,
Right.
what's called a Venn diagram. So you have two states, what's different, what's similar. So you're actually comparing two different states. Yeah. And even the games here, then once they've read all, you can say to them, okay, so which game was your favorite? If you could change the rules, what rule would you change? So that makes them really think much deeper.
Right.
Or you can even say, if you had to make up a game, what game would you make up?
Right.
So this goes beyond literal comprehension.
Right.
So literal comprehension would be the first step where you're answering questions to the point, to beyond where you're actually thinking about things. Yeah, yeah.
I would like to know what actually made you to choose Zorba as your publishing partner.
I was actually looking around. I had contacted one or two companies in India. I had contacted a few companies in Australia. But when I started thinking about illustrations, I didn't think that an Australian company with Australian illustrators would do justice to my Indian characters.
Yes.
They wouldn't understand them very well. And what I liked about Zorba when I went through was it was, for me, a one-stop shop.
Okay.
So this is where I go and this is where I get everything done. So it's not just publishing, that I get it done and then I start looking for marketing, and then I start looking for somebody to do my Facebook page, then I start looking for somebody to do my website. I was very happy that they offered everything under one package. It may have been the most expensive package, but it was a one-stop shop for me.
Right.
And that worked well for me.
Right.
Yeah.
So how was your experience, complete experience in terms of getting the book published, in terms of communication, and in terms of quality of the product, final product?
In terms of communication, it was excellent. And the feedback that I received every time I sent some information like the editing or the review of the book or the illustrator, it was pretty prompt, I must say. Sometimes maybe I took a little time to get back, but Zorba, I have no complaints about that. They kind of lived up to what they promised. The only thing I would like is I wish I could do some more marketing with them. Maybe it could be something that we can work on hand in hand and proceed further with the marketing so that I can sell lots of copies of the book.
Okay. Thank you so much for your presence here.